to our channel. We are in chapter 67 from our guide 10, that is gastric secretions. So first let us see the glossary terms and next go on into our deep discussion. So first, what is gastrin? So gastrin is actually a hormone which is secreted by gastrin cells. So these gastrin cells are also known as G cells, and these G cells are mainly useful for the increase in the secretion of gastric acid, as well as they also influence the GI motility. So increase in secretion of gastric acid, plus also they are involved in GI motility, that is the movement of gastrointestinal system. Next, coming to histamine. Histamine is secreted by enterochromaffin like cells, that is also called as ECL cells, which are mainly present in gastric mucosa layer, and they are useful for the increase in secretion of HCl. So before we are seeing they are used for increase in gastric acid, that is gastrin, and histamine is useful for the secretion of more amount of HCl. And next, coming to intrinsic factor. So these intrinsic factors are essential for absorption of vitamin B12, especially in the ileum. So in the ileum, our vitamin B12 gets absorbed. So for that we need this intrinsic factor. So this intrinsic factor is secreted mainly by the parietal cells along with secretion of HCl. So parietal cells mainly they secrete HCl. So not only HCl, the parietal cells also try to secrete this intrinsic factor, which is useful for the absorption of B12 in our ileum. Next, coming to auxenting glands. So these auxenting glands are tubular glands. We will also see these diagrams, everything we'll learn about them. So these are located on the surface of our body. That is, surface of body means the stomach body part we know, on the surface of body and fundus of stomach. So this auxenting acid forming glands, in the name itself you can see acid forming, means they are trying to form the HCl, and they also release pepsinogen, intrinsic factor, mucus, so all other substance. So mainly they secrete the HCl. Next, coming pepsinogen, an important protein, intrinsic factor, mucus. So remember, intrinsic factor is released by auxenting glands and also by our parietal cells. So there is two origin for our intrinsic factor, parietal cells and as well as our auxenting cell glands. Next, coming to pepsinogen. So pepsinogen is a precursor of enzyme pepsin, which causes protein digestion. So mainly this is useful for the protein digestion in our GI contents. Next, coming to pyloric glands. So you can see here different types of glands. We will see those diagrams to understand it. So pyloric glands are mainly located in antral portion of stomach, and they mainly secrete mucus and hormone gastrin. So hormone gastrin is released by pyloric glands. It is present in antrum. We'll see all the parts of the stomach and understand at which position, what type of secretions, what type of glands are present. So first let us start our discussion with esophageal secretion. So our esophagus, our GI system mainly start from the esophagus, ends at the anus. So let us start the secretions starting from the esophagus. So esophageal secretion is entirely mucus, because there's no other function there in the esophagus, just mucus, mainly to protect the layer and also to slide the movement of the food or the bolus which is present, right? So it's entirely mucus and provide the lubrication for swallowing. So mainly useful for the lubrication of swallowing, and this is lined by mucus glands at the gastric end. So at the gastric end they have some glands, they are called as mucus glands, and it is also associated with the initial part. So especially the gastric end and the initial part of the stomach, we have this mucus glands. So many, what are this initial portion? There are many compound mucus glands present in the initial portion. This gastric end mainly protect from acid reflux, and despite this, still peptic ulcer at times may also occur. So actually, why there are this mucus glands at the gastric end is, these mucus glands, sometimes because any regurgitation or anything, the stomach contents may come into our esophagus. So at that time, our esophagus layer will be very thin. So to support it, to protect it, we have our gastric end with mucus glands, and even in the initial portion of stomach also we have this compound mucus glands. They are also to prevent the mucosal excoriation by food. So even by food, if it is rough, it is moving very intimate to our mucus layers, then they may also get ruptured. So to prevent that also, in the initial portion also we have many mucus glands. So all this mucus gland main function is to lubricate the way to the food. So next we have the stomach mucosa. So stomach mucosa, in the stomach mucosa we have mainly two important glands. So we are moving from the esophagus to the stomach now. So even stomach have mucosa. So in that mucosa we mainly have two important glands. Those are like auxenting glands, which are also known as gastric glands, and also we have the pyloric glands. So what are the two important glands present in stomach? Gastric glands and pyloric glands. So these are two important in stomach mucosa. So next, now we will see the deeper about this oxytocin glands, also known as gastric glands, and we are also going to see the details of pyloric glands. So first, let us start with oxytocin glands. So oxytocin glands we already seen before. They're acid-forming glands, mainly secrete HCl, pepsinogen, intrinsic factor, mucus. So these are located inside the body of the stomach and the fundus of the stomach. So here you can see this is the body part of the stomach and this is the fundus part of the stomach. So from this fundus part and body part of the stomach, mainly our oxytocin glands release the HCl, pepsinogen, mucus, intrinsic factor. So that is nothing but the proximal 80% of the stomach. So it's a proximal part. So what are the secretions? Mainly three types of cells secrete three types of, you can see, the mucous neck cells, which are present in the neck area, like here. Mucous neck cells. They mainly secrete mucus, and peptic or chief cells secrete pepsinogen, and parietal or oxytocin cells which mainly secrete HCl, intrinsic factor. So next we'll move on to pyloric glands. So remember, these are the two glands which are very much important in our stomach. So pyloric glands are mainly useful for secreting mainly mucus, which are protecting the pylorus from stomach acid, and also they secrete the hormone gastrin. So the hormone gastrin and this mucus comes from the pyloric glands. So these are located in the antral portion of the stomach, that is distal 20 part of the stomach. So you can see this is the antrum portion of the stomach, this is the distal 20 part, this is the proximal 80 part. So the proximal 80% it's giving rise to our oxytocin glands, whereas this antrum 20% of the stomach is giving rise to our pyloric glands. So secretion. So what they secrete? Structurally, they're similar to oxytocin glands. They have few peptic cells and no parietal cells. So they have only few peptic cells, whereas we have seen in oxytocin glands there are many peptic cells. Here there are few peptic cells and no parietal cells. So mainly their mucous neck cells are identical with mucous neck cells of oxytocin gland, and they also secrete mucus which help in lubrication. And the peptic or chief cells, here also they secrete the pepsinogen, same as oxytocin glands. And the G cells secrete the hormone gastrin, which plays a key role in controlling gastric secretions. So G cells, G for G, releasing hormone gastrin. Next we'll see the surface mucous cells. So surface mucous cells are actually between these glands. The entire surface of stomach is covered by a continuous layer of surface mucous cells. So these are the mucous cells which are present in between these glands. So they are like viscid mucus, means very having higher viscosity, and they coat like a gel layer of the mucus. It is greater than 1 millimeter thick. They also provide the shell of protection, lubricating for the transport of food, and also it's alkaline. So because of its alkaline nature, you can understand it can neutralize the acid which is coming from the stomach. So if the acid touches the stomach, it further promotes production of thick alkaline. So if more acid is coming, it gets ready with more alkaline, more thick gel, so that it can protect the stomach layers. Next, let us see the gastric juice. So the gastric juice is mainly secreted by adult human. So in adult human, we can secrete this gastric juice, that is like 1.5 to 2 liters. So when we take a meal, it stimulates the release of gastric juice from the gastric pyloric glands. So just now we are seeing the important glands in our stomach. So from these glands actually are when the food enters, a gastric juice is produced along with surface mucus cells. So all these cells try to produce more amount of gastric juice. So what actually gastric juice contains? It contains water, of course, some solutes. So the solutes are further divided into inorganic solutes and organic solutes. So let us see what are those. The inorganic solutes are mainly, of course, are important one, HCl acid producing, sodium, potassium bicarbonate. So these are all like bases, whereas HCl is our powerful acid. Coming to organic substances, we have enzymes, pepsin, gastric lipases, gelatinase, intrinsic factors. So actually you can remember simply we say organic food. Organic means what all our body can produce. Means inorganic are like acids, all this bicarbonate, all these are inorganic. So organic, enzymes, pepsin, gastric lipase, gelatinase, intrinsic factor. So these are all coming under organic. Next, let us see the mechanism of HCl secretion. So how HCl mainly comes into our stomach. Very interesting topic. So mainly stimulation. Actually the parietal cells secrete acid solution like about 160 millimeters mole of liter of HCl, which is isotonic with body fluid. Means it's like almost similar with our body fluids because of pH of acid is 0.8. It's extreme acidity. Hydrogen concentration 3 million times of out of blood. So this H plus is secreted and bicarbonate is bought inside. We'll see this diagram to understand better. So actually here as H plus is secreted, H plus is secreted means it's getting out from the body. So bicarbonate is brought inside to balance this. So because of this there is in the gastric venous blood you can observe higher pH than arterial blood. Higher pH means it is getting more alkaline. So you can see more alkaline nature in the venous blood than the arterial blood when the stomach secreting acid. So when the stomach is in the process of secreting acid, because of its balance, the blood will have no more amount of alkaline and the secreting acid will be of course more acidic. So this is how our body try to balance. So now let us see the parietal cell oxyntic. Yeah, the parietal cell oxyntic cell have large branching intracellular caniculi. We'll show in that diagram. So you can see here there are different caniculi. These are called caniculi. So oxyntic glands mainly have this kind of caniculi, and you can see this is an oxyntic or parietal cell. This is how it looks, and these are the mucous neck cells. So this caniculi actually have the villus projections, and HCl is produced and then conducted by caniculi to secretory end of cell. So in this parietal cells only the HCl is produced and they are secreted by the secretory end of the cell. Mainly the driving force is uh, potassium hydrogen ATPase. So potassium hydrogen ATPase, because of it you can see this is the secreting end. From this the HCl is secreted out. So mainly this process is going on because of an important pump, that is sodium, no, not sodium. Here we have hydrogen and potassium pump. So we can see this diagram. By this we can easily understand now this process, how from an parietal cell the acid is getting secreted out. So first actually what happens is the water, you can see the water molecule H2O, this water molecule is divided into H plus and OH minus. So this H plus is now getting secreted to the caniculi for the exchange for potassium. So this H plus is getting out and the potassium is getting in exchange of, so you can see if one ion is getting out then one will be coming in because of this ATPase pump, that is hydrogen potassium ATPase pump. So as H plus has gone out, now potassium is coming inside and this potassium is catalyzed by hydrogen potassium ATPase. So now this potassium is transported to the cell by means of sodium potassium ATPase. So also not only the potassium is coming because of this pump here, that is hydrogen potassium pump, even because of sodium potassium ATPase, you know, the potassium will come into the cell and the sodium will go out of the cell. So in the two ways now this parietal cell can have the potassium input, that is via hydrogen potassium ATPase and sodium potassium ATPase. So finally the potassium has come into the cell. Now what happens to this potassium? So the potassium is transported to the cell by sodium potassium ATPase on the basolateral extracellular side of the membrane and tend to leak lumen but recycle back to the cell by hydrogen potassium ATPase. So you can see here the potassium is coming. You know, whenever inside the cell the potassium concentration increases, of course it's try to go outward. But you can see because of this hydrogen potassium ATPase, as how much potassium is going out because of the sodium potassium ATPase, again this potassium is getting recycled into the cell so that the potassium concentration can be maintained in the parietal cell. So this is a wonderful mechanism. Once again let us understand. First the water is breaking down into hydrogen ion and OH minus. So this hydrogen ion is getting out. So as the hydrogen ion is getting out, one more potassium charge, positive charge should come in. So the potassium is coming in. As the potassium is coming in here inside, not only by this pump, even by this pump the potassium will come inside, but the potassium which is coming by this pump tries to go outward because of concentration gradient. But as the potassium concentration need to be maintained inside the cell, so this potassium again recycled by the sperm. So this is how they work interactively. So next actually after this is the basolateral side actually. So you can see here the lumen, this is the lumen of the cannuculus and this is the interstitial fluid. Lumen means according to here you can see this side, this is the lumen, this is the interstitial space. So here this is the lumen, this is the interstitial space. So now the basolateral sodium potassium ATPase decrease the intracellular sodium, of course, because as sodium is now getting more out, so the intracellular sodium will be low now. and it contributes to the sodium reabsorption from the lumen of caniculae. So as intracellular sodium, you can see here it is going outside. So as the sodium is gone out, now the concentration gradients tends to take the sodium from the lumen into the cell. So now the sodium is coming from lumen of the caniculae into the cell. On the basolateral membrane, you can see on the basolateral membrane we have sodium potassium ATPase. So now the sodium is coming into the cell. So because of this, most of the potassium and sodium in the caniculae are reabsorbed into the cell, and hydrogen ions in the caniculae are getting out from the cell. So this is how you can see, as the hydrogen ions are going out, the potassium, sodium both tend to come inside the cell. So this is how sodium and potassium concentrations are kept at check by parietal cell. So next, after this, pumping of H plus ion out of the cell by hydrogen potassium ATPase permit the OH minus to accumulate. So this is how, as this is going out, the OH minus tries to accumulate inside the cell and form bicarbonate from carbon dioxide, and this action is catalyzed by carbonic anhydrase. So you can see, as the OH minus is accumulating inside the cell, uh, and forming bicarbonate. So OH minus, along with carbon dioxide, it forms bicarbonate. So this bicarbonate accumulate inside the cell, which is formed from carbon dioxide by means of carbonic anhydrase. We know already this process. So because this process, now the bicarbonate is coming inside the cell, and this bicarbonate is transported across the basolateral membrane to the extracellular fluid in exchange for chlorine ions. So as the chlorine ions are coming in again to maintain the balance, the bicarbonate, which is formed by the action of carbon anhydrase, so this bicarbonate also tries to go out and the chlorine comes inside the cell. So next, which enter the cell, the chlorine enter the cell and secrete by chlorine channels to the caniculae, giving HCl solution in the caniculae. So now this chlorine also, you can see, as it has come inside, it is going outside. So this both, as a H plus has gone outside, and chlorine, you can see on this side only our H plus and chlorine are gone outside. Potassium, of course, it is coming outside, it is again recycled back. But whereas this hydrogen ion and chlorine are not recycled back, they come as H out. So they both mix together, and finally this side on the lumen of caniculae they form the HCl. So this is how acid is formed in a oxygenating cell. So next you can check out the water. So water, by osmosis process, it passes into the caniculae because of extra ions which are secreted into caniculae. So the final secretion from the caniculae also have water. HCl at the concentration about 150 to 160. So HCl will be like about 150 to 160, and also we have the final on the lumen side we have this two, HCl and water. And we also have potassium chloride at 15 milliequal. You can see potassium and chlorine are also present because they are also coming out somewhat. So potassium and chlorine are also present like about 15 milliequivalents, and small amount of even sodium chloride may also be present. Some of the sodium may be remained here, so that sodium along with chlorine, it may form sodium chlorine. So all these are the final products on the lumen side of the caniculae. Lumen side is nothing but which are secreted into our stomach. So HCl is produced, water is produced, sodium chlorides are produced, potassium and chloride are also produced. So the major part of stomach ability to prevent the backleak of acid is attributed to the gastric barrier, which is due to the formation of alkaline mucus and tight junctions between the epithelial cells. So if the barrier is damaged by alcohol or aspirin, means extra intake of alcohol, aspirin, they mainly try to secreted acid leak down by the gradient into the mucosa and causing the stomach mucosal damage. So you can see actually the mucosal layer are protecting our stomach and all other tissues of our GI tract, mainly from the damage by the acids. So if a person is taking excess alcohol or excess aspirin, the concentration gradient may damage. So because of that, the acid may destroy the stomach mucosa. So let us see the regulation of gastric acid secretion, how we can regulate. So we have seen how the acids are formed. Now let us see the regulation. Acetylcholine, gastrin, histamine are the basic factors which stimulate the gastric secretion. So remember, acetylcholine, gastrin hormone and histamine, these are the three major factors. So from the parasympathetic nervous system, acetylcholine, it's get released. So here you can see this is PNS. So by means of parasympathetic nervous system, when it gets stimulated, the acetylcholine gets released, and because of this release of acetylcholine, it gets an act on the peptic cells. So these peptic cells in turn, they lead to production of pepsinogen, and later the pepsinogen on the parietal cells, they lead to formation of HCl, and as the HCl is formed, it goes into the mucus cell and finally going out into the mucus. So I can see here, whenever the parasympathetic nervous system gets activated, acetylcholine is released. It gives signal to the peptic cells. These peptic cells lead to formation of pepsinogen. This pepsinogen acts on the parietal cells. As it acts on the parietal cells, the HCl is released, and finally this HCl acts on mucus cells to form the mucus. So this is how the process goes on. So both gastrin along with histamine stimulate the secretion of acid by parietal cells. So I can see here the histamine which is coming from ECL cell and the gastrin which is coming from the G cell, this both also try to activate the production of acid. So this is how the acid is produced by because of activation of acetylcholine, because of histamine, so gastrin. You can see all these are positively acting factors for the production of HCl or acid in the stomach. So all are mainly acting on the parietal cell. Acetylcholine lead to calcium, increase intracellular calcium, so that increase hydrogen outward, and histamine leading to acting on adenyl cyclase, converting ATP into CAMP, and gastrin is also activating calcium. So because all these reactions, you can see the hydrogen potassium pump gets activated, it leads to again the process, this same process continues, hydrogen ions get out, potassium come into the cells, the hydrogen along with the chlorine which is present both together form the HCl. So this is how gastric secretion. So these are the pro-factors which are supporting the acid secretions: acetylcholine, histamine, and gastrin. So you can see here one more mechanism, like gastrin can, it stimulates ECL cells. So as these ECL cells are stimulated, they may secrete the histamine. These ECL cells lie deep in oxyntic glands, so they are also stimulated by gastrin. And gastrin formed in the antral portion in response to proteins. And the gastrin hormone is secreted by gastric cells, also known as G cells, which are located in the pyloric glands in distal end of stomach. And gastrin, they are large polypeptides. They are made up of two types of amino acids, G34 and G17. G34 have 34 amino acids, G17 have 17 amino acids. This 17 amino acid one is more important. And protein rich meat. So for example, now let us take one more example. For that we also have another diagram. So here you can see the protein rich meat. So whenever you take protein rich meat in the stomach, it stimulates the gastrin, especially in the pyloric glands. So it tries to release gastrin to the blood,